PR.
Cyber PR. Gotcha here.
Awesome.
All right. And do I have to do anything on this screen, or this is the screen that we'll be looking at?
You can look at whichever one feels more comfortable for you.
Okay.
So that's fine. The only thing is to just open and join the live on Instagram, and then I can invite you to it.
All right, great. So I'm on the page. And now how do I join it?
The profile photo should be kind of blinking with the live thing over it if you click on it.
Profile photo.
If it's not there yet, I would try refreshing that.
Okay.
It should be a photo of Ariel's face in a red shirt.
The profile, so in Cyber PR Music, I see a avatar that says Cyber PR, which is kind of like a beige looking avatar.
It's the other account. Sorry, there's two accounts. So it's just Cyber PR, no music on it.
Gotcha. Okay, Ariel. Gotcha. Okay, here we are. Live. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
All right, so request. There you go. Okay, it says I sent you a request.
Awesome. Cool. I don't know why it says paused.
It says connecting on my end.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Got it.
There we go. Perfect.
Cool. Hi, everyone. So we're now live everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere.
Right.
So hi, everyone. We're going to talk about sync licensing today. So if you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself, Adam, kind of talk about what you do a little bit, that'd be great.
Sure. My name is Adam McInnis. I'm a producer, songwriter, artist, executive. I work primarily now in the TV and film world. And I'm kind of known for having placements in almost every genre. So from country, pop, R&B, hip hop, trailers, commercials, video games, like I kind of go across the board. I got into sync about probably like 12 years ago is when I first started to get placements and started to venture into that world. And then most recently in the last 5 years, my career really took a turn because I just started going all in into it because I started to understand the business and there's just small windows in sync that if you understand how they work, you can become very lucrative in them. It's kind of like Bitcoin. People talk about it, but they don't really know how it works.
Right.
If you know how it works, you can make a lot of money. So once I understood how it worked, and we can go in deeper into how I found all that stuff out. But once I understood that, I was like, okay, I'm going to go all in on this. And then from doing that, my career really started to grow fast. We've had a lot of placements recently on some major areas and major TV shows, video games, NBA 2K, Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. We had the #1 song from Insatiable, Lucifer, like it goes down the board with all that stuff.
Awesome.
But then I started a sync company with some of my close friends and executives who are award-winning music supervisors and award-winning entertainment lawyers and producers. So we basically saw that there was such a valid and it's like up and coming still. It's a very interesting part of the industry because in sync, a lot of people aren't seeing that minus pandemic. So pre-pandemic, there's more TV and film being created every single day. Right. So visual content is being created more than ever before in history. And every single show needs about 15 to 30 cues, depending on the show. So if you look at the amount of shows worldwide that are coming out, there's so much music needed for these shows. And if you understand how it all works, you could be that go-to person for it, the way we've become, some of those in this industry. So that is a little, I guess, a quick update on what I do. And right now I am focused on several projects. So what I do is I create projects of artists that I think are really something special. And we do songs that are competitive for radio, but they also have sync potential. So that way, if the artist for some reason doesn't get a big hit on the radio because they don't have, backing from a label, or they don't have their own resources or money, they can still do songs that will land on a sync, and they'll get at least paid for it, which is first and foremost, they make money. But the amount of views that these songs get, for instance, I had only 10 seconds of my voice on the new season of Lucifer. 10 seconds, and I got over 11,000 streams. And over 11,000 Shazams. So 11,000 people Shazammed just from 10 seconds of a vocal.
Yeah.
That's the kind of difference that doing the old school model of, I'm going to make a 6-song EP, spend 2 years trying to promote it, spend all my money on a music video, spend all my time writing, thinking I'm writing for something major, but only have like 6 darts. Like, say, I look at the industry like a dartboard. People have like 6 songs, 6 darts that they're trying to throw at a bullseye. If they don't hit the bullseye, they're usually depressed, usually get anxiety. They usually think like the industry is not meant for them. They go into like almost like a negative self-sabotaging mindset because of only 6 darts.
Yeah.
So I don't play that game. I make 100 songs, and I stand really close to the dartboard, and then I just go like this.
Yep.
Because it doesn't matter where it's going to land. It matters that it will land as long as it's competitive with, quality music, and as long as you're making a large quantity of it. So that's kind of like
that was an amazing metaphor.
Oh, thanks.
Dartboard. I love that.
Awesome. So yeah, let me know how I can help today. I'm here to help.
Yeah. So I know nothing about this, so I'm super excited to learn from you.
Great.
The first question is just, what is sync licensing, and then, just a general definition of it.
Okay, so sync licensing would be you're applying licenses to audio and visual. So it's the synchronization of something that's in an auditorial form, and you're putting it onto a TV show, commercial, something in visual forms. So let's look at this. The easiest way to kind of break it down, mosquito, is to look at it when it comes to how does revenue streams work. Okay, so I'll use another analogy. Let's see if we can roll with this one. If you were a bear in the woods and you want fish, like you're hungry, do you sit in the middle of the woods looking up when it rains, hoping they fall, or do you walk and stand next to a stream?
Right.
You stand next to a stream, right? So let me talk about the streams of income that come in from sync. So we have video games, trailers, commercials, TV shows. I guess you would say like anything that's a video on YouTube. People have like these bigger accounts, like these, a couple million followers, and you get a song on there. Next thing you know, people start downloading it.
Right.
So I would say that's kind of video streaming. You get Spotify streaming, so actual audio streaming, or Pandora, Apple Music, that sort of thing. Then you also get radio. So if you can get on radio, which we've had songs that hit these radio charts, you can get indie radio, mainstream radio, satellite radio. So yeah, if you look at the audio and visual part, you got TV shows, video games, trailers, movies, and if you play the game right, you'll create songs that can go on all of these streams. So there's like 8 streams of revenue.
Right.
So sometimes you'll hear a song, and you'll hear in the background of like an MTV show, and it'll be like party, 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 I'm the best, right? I got money. Like that's a portion of sync, but that's not the sync world in reality to the highest level.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, when they talk about sync, they think, oh, that song got on a TV show, I can get my song on a TV show, which is probably true. But are you going to make a living from that? See, that's something totally different, because the way these TV shows work, or these companies work, is that usually 2 to 7% of their overall budget is what goes towards the music. So if it's $1 million indie film, right, that means there's only $20,000 to $70,000 for the music. So if there's 30 songs, they're only getting like $2,000 a song. Yeah. So it's not like you can make a living off of getting on that movie. So there's this weird thing happening right now in the marketplace where people are getting placements and then kind of shooting it out to their friends, like, look at me, I'm on MTV. Mm-hmm. You're like, cool, but how much did you make from that?
Right.
And it's kind of like we're not questioning that a lot of times in our industry, because the industry is so ego driven that we just go, oh, my friend's about to blow up. They're on MTV. But sometimes that friend is still trying to pay rent.
Right.
So the part that I try to help people with, or the part that I even work in, is like, how do you make this into a living? So that not only does it help your musical career, but it spawns off to getting you on the radio, and it spawns off to you then uprooting it and working with a label, and it spawns off to you building a fan base. And that to me is the real level of sync that I work in and that I try to show others. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be working. If you're going to be in this business, it's a lot of hard work, period. So if you're going to spend your time doing work, you might as well do something you enjoy, do a lot of it, and then figure out how to make the money kind of work for you, rather than you doing 6 songs, and hoping, praying. And I call it it's the wishing and waiting. It's just like you're wishing and you're waiting at the same time. You could be just building a catalog and going after sync and making something for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. With so much, like there's so much knowledge in your brain, and you're just like, here, have it. It's great.
Look, you said you're like, Adam, I don't know it. So I want you to know it at the end of this call. So that way you can run with it if you want.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the next question is, how does sync licensing work? So can you talk a little bit about like the process behind going after something like this?
Sure. The process. Okay. There's several different processes. It's just like, there's different ways to achieve a goal. No one's path is the same in anything, and everyone has to understand that in general. A lot of times when you see artists become successful, you don't know how it happened. You only have what people have told you in publicity write-ups.
Right.
When you've been in the industry long enough, you realize not everything you see is how it happened. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, like an artist that I work with that got signed to a major record deal, and she was discovered on Grey's Anatomy. And people are like, oh my God, that song is what broke her. So, I got to go through this way to get to that record label. And I'm like, yeah, but did you know that her father is the director of Grey's Anatomy? And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah. So there's all these behind the scenes things that happen. The one formula that I could say, hold on a sec. The one formula I can say that always works is this. I'll keep it simple. It's high quality music. Okay. So high quality music with creating a sales team, meaning a board of executives and people that will treat your music seriously, because you're actually making great music. And I want to say that if you're making great music, people will listen.
Right.
A lot of people are not making great music. They're making good enough music to put a little pat on their shoulder so all their friends think they're cool at the local party, and they can say, I got 100,000 Spotify views. That's not the world I'm in. That's a world that exists for probably like 90% of the people out there who are consider themselves musicians. That won't make you a living though. Right. So Spotify and all the pats in the back, those don't make livings. And the best way to go around sync is to form a network, form a bunch of collaborators who are all very talented. So if you get stuck on a track or you get stuck on writing a melody, you have people that you trust. More importantly, people that you trust who also know the business. Because just like anything else, if you work with other people who don't know what they're doing, eventually they're going to mess you up.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So like, you got to surround yourself with people who really know what they're doing. So that way you're not walking in to get a song placed, and next thing you know, there's a person who goes, oh yeah, I used a sample and I didn't tell you. Or, oh yeah, I didn't sign a contract for the split sheets and I want more money now. Or, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And you go, wait a second, where'd that come from? Yeah. This happens a lot. So it's really about forming a network, forming a high quantity and high quality amount of songs, and then just working them, just like any other job, like going out there and pitching your music and becoming part of the industry and not waiting for the industry to come to you from people finding or discovering you on the internet.
Yeah, definitely. Could not agree more with that last statement. You have to go out and do it. You can't just sit there and hope that, you can't just like put your song on Spotify and assume you'll get streams. You have to put the work in behind it.
Yeah, there's probably like, 0.001% who they just happen to hit that sweet spot on their own, where someone could hear their music and go, who is that? And you're like, oh, it's Imogen Heap. And they're like, never heard of her before. I'll share that. or that's Khalid. I don't know this guy. Oh, let me share that. That's like the 0.001%. And there's artists out there that will create that sort of buzz, with just them being them. But for the majority of other people in the world who are building a team, who are building their catalogs, you don't have to be this artsy person that breaks through. You can just have really, really great music and have a great network. And that alone will get you a living that you can sit back and go, wow, I make over 6 figures a year and I make music and I get to travel the world. Like, this is pretty cool. And I don't have to be on the radio. I don't have to sign away to a major record deal and sign away all of my rights. When you sign a major record deal, it says, we own your name and likeness. They own you. Like, there's no way around that. No, how would people want to dress it up? It's like, if you don't have to have someone else own you, I mean, I think that's the best way to go in life in general.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. Record labels are dictators. It's crazy what they can get away with doing.
Well, but also, too, record labels are just banks. And a lot of people aren't ever taught that, and they don't know that. So, you're getting a loan. So if you go to a bank right now and you said, hey, I want $1 million loan. And they said, cool. What do you have as collateral? And you go, nothing. Well, they're going to be like, all right, well, we need to make sure that we own you so that way we can make back our money. So at that part, if you look at it for what it really is, which is a bank that just happens to have creative services, you understand that they're taking way more of a risk than the artist is. So they have to make more of the reward than the artist does. That's how every single business works. People just don't like hearing that. Yeah. So, that part of it, I'm like, yeah, I get it. But if you had the choice to say, and I'll kind of break it down like this, because I work with several acts who have very, very minimal followings, but they make over 6 figures from sync. And they were able to parlay that into major record deals. And when they did that, when they jumped to the major label, they had actually a leverage point where they could ask the label for more freedoms, because they were already making money without the label. So the risk versus reward was just way better in the favor of the label, because they're like, well, we're taking a risk, but we're taking a risk with someone who has over 10 million streams already on their own. They're already on these movies. So it's not as big as a risk, and they already have their fan base that's growing, and it's people who are Shazamming them. It's people who generally are hearing them going, who's that? And, in the past, there's been artists that have been out where labels have spent tons of money on, but no one Shazams them. Like, no one's looking for them. Like, they have a song and everyone's like, yeah, that's cool, I guess, but don't want to hear that anymore. And next thing you know, 5 years later, you never hear of that artist again.
Right. Absolutely. The next question I had was, what are the best online sync licensing tools? So, like, is there a place where you can pitch specifically online?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, here's the thing. First, I'll say this. There's a lot of scammers out there right now, especially in the sync world. Because, once again, it's like Bitcoin. A lot of people don't know what it is. So people who are just kind of near it will then start companies and then sell the idea of it. But they're not in it. They're just near it. That's a different thing. So people, one thing I'll say is you got to watch out for the scammers. You got to watch out. If anyone says that they are an online tool for sync or that they teach sync, blah, 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 for anyone who's watching this, make sure you look up their credits and make sure they have over 20 credits before they teach you anything.
Right.
There's no way you should pay someone thousands of dollars if they don't have 20 credits that you can see on imdb.com. So for everyone out there, imdb.com is an international movie database. If someone's name is not on there with at least 20 credits, and 20 credits in the last 5 years, they can't be teaching you how to make a full-time living in this, because they don't make a full-time living at this.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that thing where right now we're in a part of the marketplace where a lot of people who are nurses are trying to teach people how to become doctors. And it doesn't work like that in anything. You could only be taught how to be a doctor by another doctor.
Right.
So you got to search for those doctors. That's one thing, right? So I used to do a one-on-one TV and film course. I'm not teaching it anymore because it got sold out and I'm just too busy doing it. So I can't recommend someone and go, this person's really good, because I technically don't know someone who knows sync as well as I do. That also is a producer, songwriter, artist, and executive. I just don't know anyone who has all four of those categories locked down. But if I was telling someone in the beginning, like, here's where I would start. First, watch TV shows, movies, and commercials. That's the first place. Listen to the energy of what the songs in commercials are and movies are. And I'll say it like this: commercials pay the most. So watch commercials a bit. Commercials can range from $50,000 to $500,000. So if you're watching commercials and you're listening to the energy and you're like, okay, the energy of that is up tempo, uplifting, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Make energetic music that matches what you're feeling.
Right.
Right. It's very rare that ballad on Grey's Anatomy is asked for all these other songs, all these other placements. It might happen, but it's very rare. You're more likely going to hear something that has higher energy, more feel good, being used in several different platforms. You might hear it on a movie, you might hear it on a commercial, you might hear it on a video game. It can cross over. So I would first study what you hear that's being used. I would create, monikers, meaning different versions of music that you like. Don't just do one sound and go, this is who I am, I got to stay this way. It's like, no, what do you like? And you're like, well, I like rock. Okay, do a rock song. What else do you like? I like hip hop. Do a hip hop album. Like, just make music that makes you feel the energy. As long as you can feel the energy, you're in the right spot if it's current sounding.
Right.
If you try to make a dated rock album from like 1980s, well, then you're probably not going to make any money. But if you can compete with today's top 100 Billboard, make any kind of music you like, other than probably country if you're trying to break into sync. Only because there's only a few shows in country that sync music. And when you are competing against that, you're competing against everyone in Nashville who's trying to get a placement.
Right.
Other than that, though, literally, like, just make any kind of music. I literally have 10 different like projects I'm involved in. And it's all across the board because I just love making music. I don't think people should limit themselves to creating. So that's what I would do. I'd start off by looking at what energy is being kind of valued in the marketplace. Then I would find the kind of music that I like to make and just match that energy. So if I'm doing hip hop and I see the energy is anthemic and feelingful and champion feeling, okay, I'm gonna make a hip hop song. It makes me feel like a champion.
Right.
I can take a rock song and make myself feel like a champion. Like I can do that in any genre. EDM song, I feel like a champion. I have a crazy drop, like any genre, just match the energy. Then I would probably use Disco. Disco is a great company that you can be organized. It's just to catalog your songs, that you hold all your metadata, like all the splits of all the writers, like get that all organized. Make sure you have agreements with all of your writers, so that way, no one comes back 2 years later and is like, hey, I deserve more from that song than you do. And probably try to find a mentor. We have a private group called the Billboard 500 Club where I mentor everyone, but it's not just me. There's like executives from all the top sync companies are in there. Grammy Award winners are in there. Like, find places where people can be on a 1-to-1 ratio. And that's so important. So let me give you an example. Like, if you have a song, for instance, Kayla, and you want to get it placed and you go through a sync library, you have to pay that sync library 50%. So you might get yourself on a commercial, and that's great. But then half of your money cut, and you have taxes, right? So at first it sounds great. Then once you get all the cuts, it's like, okay, this is cool. And you might make $30,000. That was great, right? But if you have that 1-to-1 ratio, meaning you actually know the director, you know the scriptwriter, you know the editor, you know the producer of the film, well, then now you made the full 100K. So you can do one song, and that just paid for your whole year of living. And then you got some savings in the bank too. So it's about, and I'm giving you a lot of gems here, but I'm saying anyone out there who's really trying to get the sync world, you want to look at this thing that you're doing as an actual company. Forget yourself as an artist for a bit, because I think the artist thing is where people get tripped up because they have too much thoughts that are not based on reality, only from movies and Instagram and YouTube, so like they don't really know how it's happening behind the scenes. And so I'm letting you know behind the scenes, the people who make a lot of money doing this, I'm talking about all of my friends who are in sync, everyone makes between $100,000 to $3 million a year. Right. So there's a nice little sweet spot that like everyone makes. And I can tell you this, everyone is super talented. So you got to get good at what you do. You want to be able to make a high quality song in 48 hours. If you can make a song in 48 hours, you're in the zone of the competitive market that's actually happening.
Yeah.
But if you can do that, and you can build your, like a company where you're like, I'm going to make 30 songs a year. Cool. If you do that year one, and let's say you land 10 songs year one, but then year two, you make another 30 songs. Now you have 60 songs. And you land another 10. So now you have 20 songs placed. And you have 90 songs. You have 100. By the time you get to year five, you have 150 songs in the marketplace. And they're all making you money. They're making you money from the past. They're making you money on new future ones. And the coolest thing about Sync is that some of my biggest songs I wrote 4 years prior.
Wow.
So like I have some songs out there that have like 80 million streams or views on YouTube. And literally I wrote them 4 years ago. So you can't go into the Sync world thinking, I'm going to do 5 songs and then I'm going to hope that something happens.
Right.
That's the part where people get tripped up. If you go into it going,
like a continuous.
Yeah. If you're going into it like I'm building a company, that will most likely create run-off opportunities for me as an artist, but also create income that becomes back around in royalties and residuals. And you're okay with saying, I'm all in on my musical career for at least the next 5 years, then you'll see the constant growth.
Yeah.
But a lot of people tend to, and I notice this in just people in general, they give themselves, I would say they go to the 65% mark and they stop in everything they do. So like they try real hard for like a year. They do YouTube videos every day. And then year two comes around. They're like, well, I didn't get what I want out of it yet.
Right.
And I think it's because of the instant gratification, world that we're being programmed to believe in, but it's not real. Like every single person who's successful is going to tell you like it's work, but it's work that we love to do. So I think if I can help anyone saying that, it's like, if you're going to get into this, you're building a business. And if you can remember that, it's fun. It's like, I'm telling everyone, like all my friends know, I'm like, listen, I've been doing Sync for a while now. I travel all around the world. I have awesome friends who are very inspiring, who are interesting people. I get a chance to see my songs on major outlets all over the world. And it's always a trip for me when my mom gets to see it and she's sitting in the movie theater like, it's my son's song. And I'm like, yeah, remember that? I started off being a tone deaf kid who couldn't play any instruments and I had no clue I wanted to do in college. And I said, oh, I'll try this music thing. And then to see that what's created is just a huge, huge blessing. And I'm thankful for it every single day.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great story. Tone deaf to very successful musician. That's awesome.
Thank you.
John Sierra Jr. asked about, like, how about from the mixing or tracking standpoint, are you recording in-house, learning to mix yourself, or outsourcing the engineering? That's
a great question. Who asked that?
John Sierra Jr.
Okay, John Sierra. Really good question. So it's a mixture of all. So that's why I'll kind of explain it. It depends on the deadline and depends on the project. So let me break that down in more finite terms. If I'm working on a project and I'm really, really busy, then I'll have myself, the artist, another producer, and then possibly a standby mixer. So that way, if we're all working and we get busy and we're like, oh, it's going to take us at least 3 hours to mix this track, send it off to the standby mixer. We'll pay him, $200 to mix it within 48 hours, right?
Right.
If it's something that we're taking a little bit of our own time on and we want our hands and everything because we want it to sound the way we want it to sound, it's not like a rush job, then we might do all the mixing ourselves all in-house. I will say this. A lot of people ask me about mastering. They go like, are you mastering your songs? When you get really good at mixing, like the way we are, is we pretty much have it completed and it sounds like it already has a light mastering on it. Once it goes onto a TV show or movie, they master it for themselves because they have to have all the levels the same in their show. So you don't have to spend more money on mastering. A lot of people do that and they don't have to. They can just get a really, really good mix with a good enough light mastering on it and then send it to the TV show. And if it lands, it'll be in there. But yeah, I think it's about delegation. Once you start building your company, you might do everything yourself, but I'm working right now on 5 projects. So my day will be 3 writing sessions a day at an hour and a half each. So I technically only have to work 4.5 hours a day.
Right.
Right. And so I try to only do 4 days of sessions. But I just told you I'm doing 3 different sessions a day. So I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 songs in a week.
Wow.
And I might not be over each song, but I have someone that I trust who's finishing the production. And then if they can't, they send it to me and I'll finish the production. And then we can kind of bounce back and forth. And that's why it's important about building an actual team of competent professionals and not just people going, I want to make music, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah. Hope that helps.
Someone asked what you think about taxi licensing sync services.
I mean, when you start asking me names and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought you might know if you don't.
No. I'll just tell you what I think about it. I understand why people use them. Right? I get it. It's because you don't have a network and you want a bridge to something that you feel might put you in opportunities. I understand that. If you're asking me what's the best thing to have is your own network, and for you to have people who you're doing a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning you have the publisher giving you the brief. You have the executive giving you the brief. Whenever you have to go through another party, that party's going to take a cut, and you don't know if that party's really working for you because you're not in the office. So I'm going to just say that in a nice way. Like, you don't know because you're not in the office. And if you're spending your money like that and if you've never even visited the office, if you don't know the people who are the A&R personally, you don't really know what's happening. And I see this so often in the music business where people have no clue how much some of these companies are making versus how much they're actually placing for artists. They have zero clue. And I'm like, ooh, that could be kind of tricky.
Yeah, totally. John Sierra Jr. has a follow-up.
All right.
If you were starting over today with $500, what would you do?
I was starting over today with $500. What would I do? I mean, that's a good question. I know exactly what I would do. I would join the Billboard 500 Club because that's the only place currently now where you can get access to mentors who are at the top of the industry who generally are trying to help the next generation. And it's way cheaper than going to Berkeley or anything like that. It's like $49 a month. And you're meeting people who are platinum artists, like they're in the group. So that's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is I would probably take a production course because you have to learn how to produce the highest quality. And you can't get by with being good enough in this business because you're competing against people like myself and others who've been on record labels. So we've all been trained to understand high quality, fast turnarounds. You're competing against that. So if someone says we need a song by tomorrow at 10 a.m., which happens all the time, you have to be able to do that. And if you can't, you just lost out $100,000. And that's going to come to me, which I'm fine with. But it's not going to help you in your career. So I would take a production course. That way you actually can compete at a high level. I then would find 5 collaborators that I trust. I'd form my own internal network where we got on a schedule that we created projects around music and musicians that we love. So we would find someone on Instagram or Spotify or YouTube who had a dope voice and be like, yo, do you want to do a sync project with me? We'll do all the music. You just handle the vocals, but we'll write with you. I would set my goal to do 50 songs in a year, so 1 song a week. I would do that for 3 years, and that $500 would turn into at least $300,000.
Wow. That's a great answer. We have about 15 minutes left before Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah. So if anybody has any other questions, you answered everything that I had. So if questions, go for it. someone asked, they have a song they'd like to pitch for movies, and how can they get it in your hands? Is that even possible?
So no, that's not how the sync industry works. It's not like I want something in a movie, can I put it in someone's hands? It's more or less like when there's a movie looking for songs, then there's briefs that are created. And it says, looking for a song that will fit this scene. And sometimes they'll send me the actual scene, or they'll send me a brief of what the scene feels like or looks like. So it's not like if you send someone a song, at least in my position, that I'm going to be out there looking for opportunities, especially because you're not signed to my company, right? But if you're trying to get in the sync world, if you have more songs, it's not going to be a one song type thing. It's about a catalog of your work that I can trust, that I know that you're a real creator in this. And it's not just, oh, you have one song. It's about building, you got to build some sort of like vehicle that I'm like, you know what, maybe this song won't work, but what about the other songs you have? You know, it's about creating that kind of back and forth response. If it's just one song, it most likely it's probably best if you actually knew the director. Yeah, or in that case, you can spend your money on something like Taxi, but they're going to charge you, you know, between the yearly fees and all the submissions, you'll be spending $700 to hear a no. And I don't believe in that. So if anything, I would say make a catalog and pitch the catalog.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then that's that dartboard. You have way more than
exactly
just one chance to hit.
Exactly.
Awesome. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about?
Let's see. I would just say that for any musicians out there who are treating their career seriously, it's important that you get good at knowing the level that you have to go to. Okay, so let me talk about that for a second. There's almost this thing out there that people are just trying to go and give themselves, you know, like I said, 65%. I'm gonna go in just enough, and if I don't get a reward from this, then I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep going.
Right.
They do that pattern in everything in their life, expecting different results, which is insanity. You have to look at this like the NBA. Just because you play music does not mean you're in the NBA.
Right.
Like you can play basketball on the local court. You can play basketball in college. You're still not in the NBA until you can compete with the people in the NBA.
Right.
So there's a lot of people who unfortunately are lying to themselves because our society right now is being bred to learn how to lie really good on screen. But in the real life, they're actually struggling, or they're depressed, or they're not where they want to go. But the only reason why they're not where they want to go because they're not actually doing the things that you need to do in order to be where you are. And they repeat things like fake it till you make it. I'm here to tell everyone right now, that's a lie. And that's just something that people who are faking it tell other people. Anyone will let you know that you have to be it to be it. Yep. You can't be Michael Jordan faking it. You can't be Mike Tyson faking it. There's no faking it when you get to the level that you can't be Timbaland just faking it. Right. So when someone says fake it till you make it, it's like, no. You might fake your confidence because you're feeling insecure one day. That's one thing. But you can't fake your talent. You can't fake your production skills. You can't fake your writing skills. You can't fake these things. So don't try to think like that. Don't think that a nice looking Instagram page is going to get you the things that you want in life. So really kind of look at it like this. I would say find people that you aspire to work in the same room as, and then make sure all the music you're making is something that they would be a fan of. Just do it like that. Like if you're like, I want to one day be on the room with Adele, cool. Make a song that Adele would listen to and be like, damn, that's good.
Right.
And if you can't do that yet, don't expect anything more than what you have. And it's that expectation that I feel puts people into like this, a little bit of a depression because they expect something that they're not receiving. And it's that gap in between that makes them feel like, oh, I want this so bad. And it's like, if you want it so bad, why are you watching Netflix all those hours?
Right.
If you want this so bad, then why are you posting pictures that have nothing to do with your music? If you want this so bad, then why are you not practicing for 4 hours a day? Because I can tell you this, the people back in the day who were so good, like the Whitney Houstons and the Ray Charleses and the Shaka Khans and the Jameses, they didn't have TV and they were using it the way we were. So they were out working on their craft. So they became so talented. And now people are trying to get just 65%, but they want the 100% return on their investment.
Right.
But they don't want to spend money, which is insane. They don't want to spend time, which is insane. They don't want to give up their energy because if they don't feel happy, then they can't do it. And I'm like, it's because a lot of people are being sold this pursuit of happiness. And happiness is like perfection. You're never going to find it unless it's already inside you and you feel it. You're not all the external shit. It's never going to happen. So if I was putting it into the musical terms, it's like, realize wherever you want to be, create a schedule that the person who's in that chair is already doing. So if you plan on being in music and you want to be in a studio, 4 to 6 hours a day, then how come your schedule now isn't that?
Right.
So practice how you plan on performing. Don't practice being lazy, expecting someone to open up a door and then cry when they don't, and then play victim when you get a bad opportunity and it works out even worse. Like, don't do that stuff. Be exactly what you need to be to get the opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've learned that one the hard way with vocal lessons. I was like, I could just do them once a week. Like, no, you have to practice every day.
Yeah. Like, so perfect example, like if you want to be a singer, if that's your goal, the voice is like a muscle. So the more that you practice it, you're just going to get in shape. Exactly. So it's like someone saying, I want a 6-pack, but they don't want to work out.
Yep.
You got to use the muscle the same way. And some people, genetically have different genetics that works well for them, right? I know some friends that can sing every note in the scale, but they can't write a song that's a hit song because they haven't taken the time to study it. And so I'll say that last thing is like, at everything that you can learn, there's a nuanced level of it. So there's a level of it that only few people actually know in everything. You could say, Adam, what about cooking? I'm like, yeah, there's going to be a few chefs that know some sort of secrets that if you study from them, they're going to teach you something in one lesson that you're going to be like, oh my God, I did not know that was happening the whole time. Because they've studied for so long. It's like, you ever seen the people who do sushi and it's like an art form where like they don't even touch the knife until like after a year. Like there's certain things they have to learn. Or if you took, let's say farming, like people are farmers, but if you talk to like a herbologist or a permaculture expert, they're going to teach you stuff about the soil that you're like, oh my God, I didn't know that was happening in the soil. You mean carbon goes from there and it goes in the atmosphere and we breathe? Right. Oh, so in everything, martial arts, there's someone who's like a black belt, but then there's like that red belt. Every single thing that there is, there's a nuance level to it. Study from those people. Try to find who's doing the nuance level. Because if you can spend a year or two around those people, you know more than spending 10, 20 years of making mistakes. Because to be a master, you have to know all the mistakes. Study from the people who already know all the mistakes. And you'll cut down so much time. And so that's the best advice I would say. And a lot of those masters are in the Billboard 500 Club. And that's the reason why I mention it. There's a lot of people in there who are just giving information like this. But for anyone out there, if you're looking to get into it, you do have to apply. So it's an application only type thing. If you get into it, well, then you have a whole entire experience of an amazing career moving forward. But just letting everyone know, if you happen to look this up after this talk, like Billboard 500 Club, look up where it says application because you have to apply.
Where can everyone apply?
I think I haven't looked, but I think it's when you click Billboard 500 Club application. Let me look on Google. So if you go to Google, it's the second link. If you type in Billboard 500 Club application, the second link in there is for the club. And the way it works is that when you submit your music, there's a board of 8 people who listen to your music, who look at your Instagram, they check out your social media, they see if you're someone that looks like you want to truly become successful and not just someone who wants attention, because those are two different things. Someone who wants attention will always stop their career when they don't get enough of it. Someone who wants to become successful will always learn to get better and keep growing, because at the end of the day, they're looking for a long-term success and not just to fill an ego insecurity for the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think we have time for one more question.
Yeah, sure, hit me.
My fave holiday asked me twice to ask you this. So
okay.
She said a music supervisor she reached out to on LinkedIn just connected with her today, and he has a ton of credits, but she doesn't have any songs yet. How does she keep that conversation and that relationship going until she has the music ready?
Okay, great question. So first and foremost, why would someone reach out to you? Like, what? I have to know a little bit more information. Like, why would someone reach out to you if you didn't show them any music?
Right.
So is she there? Can she answer that?
I would assume that she'll eventually answer that, but
Okay.
it might take a second because there's a lag between us talking and the comments.
Oh, gotcha. So for anyone out there, if someone just randomly hits you up, obviously check their credits. You want to know why. If you're not showing music, you got to figure out why they would reach out to you in the first place. If you have music on a site and they reach out to you, that's one thing. If you don't have any music posted, but you have a picture, then you got to watch out, especially if it's a guy reaching out to a woman, if you have no music out there. And if your picture is you dolled up and you look pretty, it's probably not because of your music. Because you're not getting, no one's getting offers for things in this business.
She said as part of her homework, you told her to reach out.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I haven't told anyone yet to reach out to people. I've told people to catalog people and to reach out, to connect on Facebook, Instagram, but not to talk to the people yet. But okay, I hear what you're saying. If someone reached out to you back and said, hey, if he hasn't heard your music, he's reaching out because of your pictures, period.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. If you add someone on Facebook and Instagram, because it was a homework that I gave someone, right? So holiday, and he says, I'd like to hear your music. He's reaching out because of your pictures. I haven't looked at your pictures, but I'm assuming that's the reason, because unless your music's on your site, then that might be a different story. So let's go through both versions. If he reached out to you and said, hey, do you have music? I'd like to hear it. Then best thing you can do is be honest and say, right now I'm in a sync course and I'm finishing up my tracks. I'd love to send it to you once I'm finished, and just keep it honest. Like that's all it should be, you know.
Right.
Appreciate you writing me. I saw that you're a music supervisor. I'm a fan of your work. I happened to watch one of the movies and saw that you did the music for it. So I figured I'd reach out to you on Instagram just to stay in contact. So when I did have music ready, I could send you some. So I appreciate you writing me back. I just don't have anything ready now. I do have some other songs over here, but I want to make sure they're right before I send them your way. And that's kind of how I approach it.
Awesome. All right. Well, we are out of time pretty much. So thank you so much. This was so fun, and I learned way more than I thought I could ever learn. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I hope everyone.
And that link is pinned right now, but for anyone who can't see it, it's thebillboard500.com.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome. All right. We'll have a great day. I'll see you later.
You too.
All right. Bye.